Happy Rosh Chodesh Nisan. We are now starting at 8:30. For those who are interested, we will continue to try to start as early, as close as possible to 8 o'clock. But however, as the minyan is getting later, it is not currently possible to start earlier. We are continuing on chapter 21. Yeda'ativ Havayativ. I knew him, I became him. What?
This is the. What's this?
We're continuing learning Inyaney shel Mashiach, the book of Inyaney shel Mashiach, as we've been doing. All right. So we were talking about Ahavat Yisrael shemitzad ha'etzem. So there's an idea of love of the Jewish people that comes from the essence, from the essence of the Jew, higher than Yechida. As we said, the etzem is the inner essence that is higher than Yechida, because Yechida is separate from Hashem and it wants to be with Hashem. The etzem is literally it is one. It is not separate at all, right?
Just that Yechida is separate from Hashem.
Yechida. What's the idea of the Yechida? The Yechida wants to cleave to Hashem. The Yechida is
all five levels supposed to be
right, but the etzem is not separate, so there is nothing to cleave. You're already part of Hashem. The Yechida still feels it's a Yechida. It wants to be Hashem. It wants to be the etzem. But the etzem it's the etzem. There's no separation, right? So the love of the Jew from the side of the etzem. So we're talking about different things in the Torah of Chassidut, and Ahavat Yisrael is one of them. We're reviewing from the last section from last week. The foundational place in Chassidut where we explain what does it mean to love a fellow Jew. What does it mean, Ahavat Yisrael? Perek Tanya, as we said, is the 32nd chapter of the Tanya, which first graders learn. It's a very wonderful chapter. But the Alter Rebbe and the Chassidus and Tanya generally use the Yechida and how the Yechida looks at things, right? So the Alter Rebbe explains the meaning of the love of a Jew with the same way. What does the Alter Rebbe say? Even though those who are sinners, who are really bad, maybe there's a mitzvah to hate them. But what does the Alter Rebbe say? Mitzvah to love them also. Why? Because there's good that is even at least concealed within them. What is this good? It is the spark of godliness within them. So this is the idea of Ahavat Yisrael from the side of the Yechidah, right? So you have the Yechidah, which you love. As we said, the Yechidah is a spiritual reality of your soul. And the Alter Rebbe explains, the love comes from the side of the soul. And the bodies are opposite, so to speak, to the body. All the Jewish people are literally brothers from the root of their soul. The bodies are separate. We're all brothers and separate. That's all. This is why those who do make their body the most important thing and their soul secondary, you can't really have love if all I focus on is on myself, and I'm selfish, and I just want to make myself better, and all the rabbi focuses on himself, and all the lay focuses on himself. Then how can we have true love for each other? You can't. So you cannot have true love and achva between them. So how do you get this love of a fellow Jew? Is to raise up the soul upon the body. Focus on the nefesh al haguf. When
you talk, I think about Sanders.
Rabbi Peel is trying to understand how he needs to have Ahavat Yisrael Bernie Sanders. It's an important thing. Rabbi Pila is learning an important lesson on how to love Bernie Sanders during this class. You have to love his soul more than even his body, the things about to do physicality in the body. And even more so, it says what? Your soul went down to this earth for 70 or 80 years of life, however many years, for just to do a single favor for another Jew. Bernie Sanders may have gone down to this world just so that he can do a favor for another Jew, so that he can do menorah lighting in Vermont. Right? Who knows?
He did for political. We can continue.
The neshama didn't go down for political reasons. The fact is, we don't know. How much more so in spirituality? You never know how a person might affect someone spiritually. This is what we talk about the level of the Yechidah. Now, if we go with the Atzmut, which is the higher, when you talk about the level of the Yechidah, it's more spiritual, physical, as a part of the spiritual. When we're talking about the Atzmut, the body is even more connected than the soul. So since we're all one with God, how could you want to hit yourself? That doesn't make any sense, right? If we're one, and in the essence we're both one, why would how can I hate myself, right? How can I hit myself or hate myself? Either one. We should not be called this Purim Katan Tafshin Bed. האחדות לישראל על ידי עצם הנשמה שמגלה בהם כמו דבר נוסף על מציאות תם. ולכן אחדות זו היא שעושים נפשם מקו וגוף נפל. The unity of the Jewish people, the essence of the soul is revealed with them, is like an additional part of their reality. There's me, and then there's me over there, and there's me over there. We're all me. I am I, and you are you, but I am you, and we're all one. We're all Hashem. We're all part of Hashem, right? We all part of... So the Rebbe says, this unity is by making their soul, the ikar, and the body secondary. By revealing the essence of the soul, as it is in the Atzmut. Then the unity of the Jewish people is with everything. Even things that are just belonging to the body, that are not spiritual. All right. Now we're going to talk about what about between God and His world, the connection between God and His world. Until now, we talked about the Jewish people and God, right? Oh, sorry, I skipped a paragraph. I apologize. When Parsha told the talking in bed, when the Rebbe explained the same thing, the Rebbe says the real reality is every Jew, every one of us, we're one with God. We're literally a part of God, right? We're part of the essence of God that is higher than the Yechidah. And the Rebbe actually finishes that sikha and says, well, we have to act and add mitzvot so we can bring Mashiach quicker. Let me finish. And the Rebbe says, all that I'm saying is not only about these elevated grand things that are connected to the Yechidah, like learning Torah, spreading the Hasidus, those are great, but that's connected with the Yechidah. No. Yechidah Shabbat. This is the Yechidah Shabbat, the uniqueness, the unity, the one of the Torah. But no, even more so in the simple actions. Like literally making sure that the Jew has matzah for Pesach. I'm using matzah because we're about to hit Passover. The Rebbe says any physical needs of the Jew. They're connected with the essence of his reality, the soul and the body. So now back to between God and his world. Everything we said so far is about the Jewish people and God. Or the connection between the Jews and themselves. From this, we can start looking at the relationship between God and his creation and his world. כנ"ל בפרק י"ד בתורת החסידות מבואר שהקדוש ברוך הוא נקרא יחיד, לפי שהוא המציאות היחידה הקיימת. וכל שאר הנמצאים כולה קמיה כי לא חשיב וחי נפש ממש. In chapter 14 in the Torah of Chassidut, in the Tanya, perek, chaf, alef, it says, God is called one, yachid, similar to the level, as we said, yachid is masculine, yechida is feminine, but yachid, God is called yachid, it also means one, or singular, because he is the single reality that exists, and everyone else, we're as if we're nothing and completely zero, like, literally like nothing. Everything else is literally nothing. The world is nothing compared to the creator. There's just the creator, the world is nothing. This definition is especially correct when we're talking about the Keter, the crown that is above the 10th sphere, the 10 emotions, the 10 attributes. By him, it says everything below is as if nothing. This feeling comes to every Jew from the side of the unity point in their soul that comes from the Keter, the crown, and is against the crown. So the fact, okay, so what does it mean? This feeling, right? So we said that there's an idea of this feeling that that the Jew has in the soul, that there is nothing important but God. That this is feeling that God is the supreme importance. And then you could feel maybe everything in the world is so. Why am I wasting my time doing this or that? Why do I even work? Why am I worried about money? Why am I caring about this physicality? Right? Seems unimportant. It's no importance. There's nothing but the desire of one desire to the unique one of the world. Yechido shel olam, the one of the world. Yechido daika, specifically the word yechido. From this idea, the Jew has the power of Mesirat Nefesh. My life is important, but what is my life when, God forbid, someone wants me to bow down to an idol? And even more, in general, to, right now, we are, those of us who are either listening later or are currently learning this class, we could be watching a movie, we could be eating food, we could be doing 100 things for our own pleasure. What are we doing? We're sitting and learning. This is a bit of a Mesirat Nefesh to, on an 8:47, the prime time of the evening, right? To say goodbye to the rest of the world. And we're focusing about God.
We're not doing this for our own pleasure?
Certainly there's an intellectual pleasure in learning. But I would hope that you're not just doing this because of an intellectual pleasure. Now, I cannot speak for everyone. Certainly, I'm not denying that there's an intellectual part of pleasure of learning and understanding things. But no, the idea is we're doing this because we want to, because we're trying to connect to Hashem, we're trying to connect to the soul, we're trying to bring Mashiach sooner. There's many reasons why we're learning this. But on the practical note, I would say intellectual pleasure, at least in my mind, is a pretty low thing, because again, if I was just looking for intellectual pleasure, I would open a chemistry or physics book, perhaps, or some multi-dimensional calculus or something, right? That's intellectually interesting, right? It might be intellectually interesting, but it's not spiritually fulfilling, right? So, and it's not a Mesirat Nefesh. Again, the idea is, even if sometimes you don't feel like learning or other things, that there's a part that, brings us out and has us learn, even if we, maybe would rather look at our phone and be on the news or watch a movie or listen to a good book or even go to sleep, right? We're all here or later listening to this here, spending some of our time. Our time is our most valuable commodity that we have. Right? So this is the idea, but the idea in general is you could give over to yourself to God, right? We're going deep. So in the crown itself, the keter, which is the supernal crown that is above everything, there are different levels, one higher than the other. I said we're about to go deep. I'm not even translating these. There's the level of Arich Anpin.
Why don't you
Because the amount of explanations that I would need to translate these, unless he's going to go and explain these concepts, I am going to name them. The level of Arich Anpin, the long Atik Yomin, the ancient of days, the Ad Lepnimut Atik.
explain what this means? This means like
There are levels
There's
within the
actually a lot
crown
of
where it
them.
gets closer and closer to the essence. Ad Lepnimut Atik, the inner part of the ancient. Uvekutras Chanukah Tafshin Nun Bet Mever Rabbi. Now let's go to the Rebbe. I don't fully understand these concepts enough to explain them in a way that I'm comfortable using my own words. I'm comfortable translating what the Rebbe is saying enough. In Kutras Chanukah Tafshin Bet, the Rebbe explained. Pnimiut Atik Atzmut Or Ein Sof. The Rebbe says the Pnimiut, the inner part of the Atik, the ancient, it is the essence of the infinite light. That is the Atzmut. When we're talking about the essence of the infinite light, there is no reality outside of it. There is just the infinite light. That's it. There is nothing else. But when you're talking about the level of inner part of the Atik, the inner part of the ancient, the Adraba mitati matzot borechem tzut shekol nimtzeim, and even more so in that level, the reality of the fact that he exists, blessed be he, is the reality that there is anything at all. Otherwise, it'd be really there'd be nothing. So if you reveal the inner part of the Atik, this highest level of the crown, then you feel that the reality of everything is literally godliness. This cup is a part of God, right? I'm using the cup to be something physical, mundane. I could say about us, fine, we might have holiness, but this cup, this plastic cup that is disposable, that most likely after I finish using it will be thrown out. This cup is a part of God. So is the air. So is everything. Right? It's is godliness. כלומר, לא שלילה והתעלמות ממציאותו של כל אמצעים, אלא אדרבה להעניק לכל אמצעים את השמות האמיתית שלהם, שהיא מציאותו יתברך. בלשון הידוע שהיש הנברא חד ממש עם היש האמיתי. So the idea is not to remove the reality, say you're not real, you don't exist. No. To give everyone who exists a true meaning, which is God's existence. Our existence is based on his existence, which is a true existence. The famous words, Shehayesh Gavra Machad Mama Shim Hayesh Amiti. The Yesh, the Yesh Hanivra, the Yesh that is created is one with the true Yesh. The Yesh, which is it means
as
have
real true.
Real right. So Yesh means literally having. The having, so to speak, that we are, that we have, we feel like we're a Yesh, we're something. We are real because we're based on the reality of one who is real.
There's one guy who was learning with Buddhists, Chassidus. And then the chair fell down. Another guy said, "Why are you laughing? God fell down." This guy.
ובמהלך הדברים במאמר שם מובן שהרגש זה בא ליהודי מצד אש מעצמה של למעלה מחידה. So from as we talked about before in the from the things that are talked in the Mimer there where the Rebbe was talking about, we understand that the Jew, this comes to the Jew from the essence of the soul that is above even the level of the Yechidah. Again, we like to say there's 5 levels to the soul, but there's the level that is above all of this, which is the essence. The essence is one with the Atzmut Ein Sof. ולפיכך נרגש עצמו לו בהלם על כל פנים שמצוטט ברך היא המציאות שלו. This is why it feels by a Jew, that even in a concealed way, the true reality is God. Right? Why would someone be willing to give over his life instead of bowing to an idol? Because you know that your life, the true reality is God. Right? And this is a concealed feeling at the very least by most people. This is the true of reality by everyone. ושם המאמר ממשיכה לבאר את זה על פי משמעותו של חג חנוכה. And there in the mimer we were talking about, the Rebbe continues and explains this, but based on this, the meaning of the holiday of Chanukah. ובהקדים, בדרך כלל תורת החסידות היחידה שבתורה מוצאת בנס חנוכה את היחידה שבו. Normally, the Torah of Chassidut, which is, as we said, normally the Torah of Chassidut is the Yechidah, the highest level of the soul within the Torah. But it finds in the miracle of Chanukah what? The Yechidah within the miracle of Chanukah. What's the easiest way? Matityahu and his sons were willing to die whether to worship an idol. This is the classical example of the Yechidah and the Mesirat Nefesh. You don't even have to go very deep. You have a few people who are willing to fight and, fight an army. You're talking about like a shul of people deciding we're going to take the 10 of us are going to take on the United States and win. It's a אך בפרוטוס הנעל של חנוכה תש"ב, הרב מחדד ואומר שמסירות נפש הייתה גם בפורים. And on that contrast of Hanukkah תש"ב, the Rebbe mentions מסירות נפש, there was also in Purim. כדברי האדמו"ר הזקן הידועים שכל ישראל מוכנים למות על קידוש השם, as it says, even more so. מסירות נפש, there was on the level of Purim, and to the point the Alter Rebbe famously says,
explain what was mesirat nefesh.
I already explained, mesirat nefesh is being willing to give over your soul, being willing to die instead of converting. And then I didn't finish. I was going to say what the Alter Rebbe said. Every single Jew of the whole Jewish nation, whole Israel nation, were willing to die to sanctify God's name and not convert and not say they're not part of the nation of Mordechai. The Rebbe says, but in the miracle of Chanukah, you can find even deeper point. In his words. המסירות נפש דמתתיהו בניו הייתה שגם שהיו חלשים ומעטים מכל מקום לחמו נגד גיבורים רבים. The מסירות נפש of Matityahu and his sons were even in some ways a higher level. Why? Matityahu and his sons were weak. They were not muscle builders. No, they weren't. He was strong, but he wasn't. They were chalashim. They were weak, and there were few. Certainly, number-wise, there was not even 1 to 10, right? Mikol makom lachmu neged giborim charabim. They fought against who? Giborim, the strongest of the Greeks. Right? The whole empire, the whole empire, who were the athletes, the ones who wanted to look perfection, and that's their whole culture was that. The Olympics, right? The Olympics comes from that culture. And many. The fact, what did they do? They didn't sit down and pray that God should kill the Greeks and punish the Greeks no. They went and started physically fighting the Greeks. Based on nature, there's no place for the weak and few to defeat the many and the strong. Why? Because they understood that nature is also godliness. If you feel the truth of God's existence, the reality of everything, then the fact that there are many and the fact they're stronger is irrelevant. God, everything is God. And as such, their numbers are irrelevant and their strength is irrelevant. כלומר, מצד היחידה שבנפש, אכן אפשר ללכת עד כדי מסירות נפש. From the level of the יחידה in the soul, you can go all the way to Mesirat Nefesh, to give it over your soul. אך אין טעם לצאת למסור את הנפש במלחמה חסרת סיכוי טבעי. But mesirat nefesh, fine. But there's no mitzvah necessarily to go to war in that particular case. Okay, they could have prayed, they could have refused to bow down to idols, but they're going to war. So, right, what could they do? And Talmud said themselves, there's no idea for the Jews to go to war and give over your soul in a war that has no chance of naturally winning, right? אלא פשוט להמשיך ללמוד תורה ולקיים מצוות עד שהאויב יבוא וייטול את הנפש, right? What is the mesirat nefesh that you could think of Rabbi Akiva? You continue learning Torah and do mitzvot until the enemy might come and take off and kill you or take your soul, right? But in the end of the day, that's mesirat nefesh. That is the normal mesirat nefesh, right? The going to, and the fact that the mesirat nefesh b'Matityahu ended up with him going to a normal physical war shows a deeper point. It was shown, understood by them that nature is also godliness. And this idea that nature and everything is part of God, and so the fact there are more than them, the fact that nature seems to indicate that it's impossible, it's irrelevant because they're all part of God. And this kind of a feeling comes from the essence of your soul that is above even the Yechidah. And again, we can see the Torah of Chassidus finds the Yechidah, the unique one, the unity within everything. So this is why the Torah of Chassidut generally emphasizes the Yechidah. What is the Yechidah? The mesirat nefesh. And thus the mesirat nefesh is in Chanukah, and you have in Purim. The Rebbe, again, with the idea here at Chanukah, the mesirat nefesh of the Chashmonaim, finds a deeper level, a mesirat nefesh that comes from the essence that is above the Yechidah. Because the level of the Yechidah would have them go and say, well, we're not going to bow down to idol. We're going to continue learning Torah. Going to war when you are weak and few against the many, that's a mesirat nefesh that is above the Yechidah. That's a mesirat nefesh of the Etzem.
So they create a situation for mesirat nefesh.
Mm-hmm.
In Purim, Hashem created.
Right, in Purim, their choice was to convert or not. No, that's Yechidah. But on Chanukah, we're not talking about the miracle that happened in the end. That we can say a different situation. But the actual mesirat nefesh of going to war and deciding to go to war against the Greeks, right? Deciding to take on the superpower of the time by people, and it was it's the equivalent of like our shul deciding we're going to take out San Francisco and then California and just take over the whole country. But the number, I'm saying, like that would be like that would be basically like that, right? In that kind of a way where naturally,
What is this? This not Yechidah?
this is higher than it's from the Atzmut.
Yeah.
So they created.
Ha'etzem shelemala me'yechidah. It's a deeper. The Rebbe says it's from the essence that is above the Yechidah, because the Yechidah would have them go and say, no, we're not going to be like the Greeks. No, we're not going to do the Olympics. No, we're going to keep studying, keep circumcising, keep doing mitzvot. And if they come kill us, mesirat nefesh. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the example of the mesirat nefesh, right? They went and he was happy that he merited to. All right, so now let's go to the Idgalut Etzem Pnimiyut Torah Midor Ledor, the revelation of this essence of the inner part of the Torah from generation to generation. So we started this whole chapter with a Sicha of the Rebbe on Parshat Toldot. Mashma Shagdara, the word was defined. Yeda'ativ havayativ. I knew him, I became him, so to speak, would be the best way I can translate that word. Right? It's talking about the general Torah of Chassidut. So while this goes general, but in detail, the Rebbe says this is the difference between the Torah of Chassidut that was general, that was revealed by the Baal Shem Tov, to the Torah of Chassidut Chabad that was revealed by the Alter Rebbe. Shehi etzem hima Torah. The Alter Rebbe already is reaching to the essence of the inner part of the Torah. בהגדרתו של הרבי שם, the Rebbe defines it, שתורת הבעל שם טוב מגלה את האור העליון שלמעלה מאוד. The Torah of the Baal Shem Tov reveals the godly light that is above the worlds. Until then, it wasn't revealed, but now the Baal Shem Tov is telling stories and explaining all these concepts. ותורתו של אדמו"ר הזקן מתייחס לדמותו שיתברך ממש, but the Alter Rebbe's Torah already starts dealing with the essence of God. וכפתגמו של רבי לוי יצחק מברדיצ'ב, as the Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev said, שאמר על אדמו"ר הזקן, כולנו אכלנו מאותה צלחת, והוא לקח את החלק המוכר. Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, which would say, said about the Alter, we were all eating from the same plate, right? We all learned from the Baal Shem Tov, we all learned from the guy. The Alter Rebbe took the best part. He took the prime.
The fat, as they say.
החלק המובחר.
No, our time fat is a bad thing at that time.
You could say the fat, you could say he took everyone was eating the side dishes and he was enjoying the steak. If you want to go bring it a little more to our generation. He everyone was having the ground beef and he was having the Buffalo Denver steak. במקום אחר מגדיר רבי את ההבדל הכללי שבין תורה... במקום אחר מגדיר רבי את ההבדל הכללי שבין תורת הבעל שם טוב לתורת האדמו"ר הזקן. In a different place, the Rebbe defines the difference between the general difference between the Torah of Baal Shem Tov and the Torah of the Alter Rebbe. על ידי הבעל שם טוב נתגלה העניין דאין עוד מלבדו, שאין שום מציאות זולתו, יתברך. So the Baal Shem Tov revealed the idea there is none besides him. And on milvado is part of the things the Baal Shem Tov would teach. No reality besides God. But the Alter Rebbe says, goes deeper. There's an idea of a unity of God, even as he is from the side of the world. I know milvado, fine, but that's not the world. But the Alter Rebbe would say, even within the world, even within our the reality of this world is unique and special based in him. So this is the difference between the Yechidah. What does the Yechidah say? Everything is not important except God. Nothing's important besides God. The essence above the Yechidah says, none of us even exist except because of his true existence. Our existence is real. The Yechidah says we're nothing, he's everything. The essence says no. We are something because he is something. We are a yesh because he's a yesh and we're part of his yesh.
Therefore you are yesh.
I'm not a yesh. Hashem is a yesh, and because he's a yesh and I'm a part of him, I'm part of his yesh. Uh-huh. No, we cannot say this today because we don't really feel it. But yeah, in the world to come, we said you could say you will feel that you are no more than my hand feels that it's a hand, right? It feels it's part of me. We will feel we are a hand of God. We're a finger of God.
Everyone will feel like a Merkova.
By the second part of the days of Mashiach, when not in the first, but yes.
What's a Merkova?
Chariot. We'll all feel like a chariot.
Chariot don't have own choice.
Yes. והרבי ממשיך ומקשר זאת להבדל בין תורת... So the Rebbe continues this. Let's finish. We got one more page in this chapter. So הרבי ממשיך ומקשר זאת להבדל בין תורת החסדות לכללית המדגישה את האמונה שלמעלה מהשכל והשכל מתבטל לפניה. So the Rebbe continues and connects this to the difference between the Torah of Chassidut, the general Torah of Chassidut, המדגישה את האמונה שלמעלה מהשכל, Torah Chassidut generally emphasizes belief that is above reason. And reason becomes nullified. What is most of the Hasidic movements? Emotion. Don't focus on what your mind tells you, what you think. Feel. Do it, bother, do it. Feel it. Above reason. Reason should nullify to your feelings. And this is and what's the emphasis? Emunah, belief, the feeling, the belief that is above reason. And where does this faith, emunah, come? From the level of the yechidah that is in the soul. What is the emunah? It is godly revelation that nullifies and removes the reality of the world. Right? Mitziut HaSechel, you stop focusing on what you see and what you believe, reason. Believe. You don't need reason. You don't need to understand. Believe. No, but it is an emotional, it's a feeling, right? לעומת זאת תורת חסידות חב"ד, שמה דגש על הסברת עניינים בסדר דווקא. The purpose of Hasidut Chabad, or as the acronym stands for, Chokhmah, wisdom, Bina, understanding, and Da'at, knowledge, is not that, right? Our whole, it's a different approach. Our approach is understanding these things in our mind, specifically. We start with the understanding there is no reality besides him. We're not disagreeing with Chassidus. There is no reality besides God. Thus, we don't need to say our mind is nothing and it's nullified. Our mind, which is also part of God, from its own side, can feel and understand the unity of God to some degree. From the fact that our mind is a reality, that is part of God's reality. The reality of our seichel is not separate from God. And if you accept that our seichel is part of God's seichel, then we can start understanding God in our seichel. We don't need to nullify our seichel. It's a really cool concept. They say we can't understand our seichel is nullified to our feeling, just believe. And we say, no, we agree with you that there's none but him, but since we are part of him, our seichel is part of his seichel, and our seichel can thus not need to be nullified because it's part of his seichel. ובפרט יותר מצאנו במקומות רבים שהרב מדבר על כך שבתורת החסידות חב"ד גופה ישנו תהליך של גלות מדור לדור בעומק לפנים עומק. The Rebbe, many times, shows that even within the Torah of Chassidut Chabad, there is a revelation from generation to generation in the depth, going deeper and deeper. באופן מיוחד מציין הרבי את אדמו"ר רש"ב. The Rebbe emphasized the Rebbe Rashab, שעל ידו היה שלב מיוחד בהסברה של תורת חסידות חב"ד באופן המובן ממש מסך אנושי. Through the Rebbe Rashab, they reached a level of explanation of the Torah Chassidut Chabad in a way that could truly be understood now by the human mind. שעל פי העיקרון הנ"ל מובן, שככל שעניינים אלוקים באים יותר בשכל, הרי זה מורה להמשכה הנ"ל יותר מצוותו יתברך ממש. The more the godly's ideas can reach in our mind and we can understand them, the higher the source of them comes. The source is it's a higher continuation of the godly light. ועל פי העיקרון הנ"ל של מוסיף והולך, מובן גם בנוגע לסידורנו, שעל ידו היא עיקר ההתגלות של עצם פנימיות התורה ממש. So since we know there's a concept of he adds and continues, the Mittler Rebbe added to the Alter Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek added to the Mittler Rebbe, on, and the Frierdiker Rebbe added to the Rebbe Rashab, and the Rebbe, the leader of our generation, certainly added to the Frierdiker Rebbe. It wasn't a completely new thing. The Rebbe didn't reinvent it. He was continuing the work of the generation before. And through the Rebbe is the revelation of the essence of the inner part of the Torah, literally. We get the etzem pnimiyut Torah. ובדורנו גופה, and in our generation, עם המשך השנים הרי זה מתגלה יותר ויותר. As the years pass, it's revealed more and more, even within the generation. וכפי שזה ניכר בכל לימוד שבעל this is explained in many places. And in fact, the Rebbe, I'm saying a sign of, באחד השיחות אמר הרבי שכל נשיא בתחילת התורה עומד תחת הרושם של הדורות הקודמים. The Rebbe says, every Nasi, every leader of the Jewish people in the beginning of his Nasiut, he stands under the, not shoulder, under the Roshim, under the writings of the last generations, under everything, he's just under what they already wrote. And as time passes, he no longer is just a Frierdiker Rebbe. He is now starting to bring novelty that is his own, right? Or similarly, the Frierdiker Rebbe to his father. And you can look at Sichat Kav Bet Shvat Tafshin Nun Bet. And the Rebbe even says that from the year Tafshin Memchet began a new period in the leadership of the Rebbe. But
Tafshin
Memchet, almost done. So we have time. I mean, we're good. We have time still. We're
Rebbe's in passed away. No,
was it Tafshin Memchet?
no.
I'm unsure.
Okay.
I'm unsure.
Mhm.
So that's that Pika one and Ashim, yeah. So the Rebbe is just obviously Achleidach Gisa in another way you could say this. Move on. כל הביאורים העמוקים של אלבור הרשע ושל נשיא דורנו נמצאים בכלולים כבר בתורתו של האדמו"ר הזקן. However, another way you can look at it. All of the deeper explanations of the Rebbe Rashab and of the Rebbe are already included in the Torah of the Alter Rebbe. They're not as explained, they're not as easy to understand, but they're already there. שהוא זה שכתב את שער הייחוד והאמונה. The Alter Rebbe is the one who wrote the gate of unity and faith. ייחוד ואמונה. אודות אחדות העולמות. He was the one who wrote about the unity of the worlds. Right? והוא זה שהציב את רעיון הדירה בתוכנית כתחילה לבירה. The Alter Rebbe, it was his focus. He was the one who really placed this idea that it was not necessarily the central idea of every sect of Judaism, this dwelling place on earth. This was the Alter Rebbe. He placed this idea as the whole purpose of creation, as a central tenet of faith. It says, yeah, this is the Alter Rebbe. This is part of his Shaykhut Emunah. If you read the Tanya, it's very much clear that this is the Baal Shem Tov had certain ideas of it. Again, the Baal Shem Tov was revealing the idea that end of Milvado. The Baal Shem Tov wasn't.
It wasn't time.
It wasn't time for that revelation. Again, certainly you could say that the Alter Rebbe also is connected to the Baal Shem Tov's Torah. So again, but and the Alter Rebbe famously, he's the one who wrote Kol Yehudi hu chelek Elokam Iman Mamash. The words of the second chapter of Tanya start V'nefesh hashenit b'Yisrael chelek Elokam Iman Mamash. The Rebbe spent 100 sichot explaining this concept. The Alter Rebbe writes in a line, right? However, a generation passed, and the Nassim explained it in an easier to understand for us manner. It's revealed, the true full meaning is revealed. When the Alter Rebbe said that, he understood it in the same way in all explanations that the Rebbe was giving about the same concept later on in the generations. The Alter Rebbe, it was a one line, right? Or his explanation of the Tanya, and then there's further explanations. And it's revealed further and further with the generations up until our generation, where is the highest level of revelation that has ever been. All right, Sikum, summary. Maybe we'll, we have 10 extra minutes. If there's no questions, we can start sneak in a little bit of preview of the next chapter.
or maybe just
Stop here.
say in general.
Oh, that's a summary. That's what I'm doing now. בדרך כלל מוסבר שתורת החסידות בחינת היחידה שבתורה המקשרת היחידה שבישראל מכל שונם. The general way you would describe the Torah of Chassidut, if you go Kabbalistic, I should say, is that it is the Yechida within the Torah. It is the unity point of the Torah, the highest level of the soul within the Torah. It connects the Yechida, feminine unity of the Jewish people, im yechido, the masculine unity, or the unique one of the world. The Yechida and Yechido are very similar in Hebrew, so there's some lost translation because it's a masculine form of the word. Yechida is a feminine of Yachid, right? So, but in a deeper meaning, in a deeper sense. As we said, through the Torah of Chassidut, the Jew can unite with God to become one reality. In the level of I knew him, so I became him. Right? The very high level where because I know and understand God, I become like him. Right? It's I guess in a way you can think of it as
I became part of him.
Yadativ Havatim, Haviativ. I became part of him. Yeah. If you look at the letters of Haviativ, it starts with 3 letters of the name Havaya. So it's a very I knew him and thus I became him or became part of him. Yeah. This is the essence that is above the Yechidah. Again, my hand does not think it's a separate thing. My hand feels like it's part of me. So when I lift my hand, when I do this, it's my hand. It doesn't think, oh, I'm being a big shot on my hand. No, it's a. So since this is the level, the essence of this above even the level of Yechidah, the unity, then you can find in the Torah of Chassidut different explanations and different levels, one higher than another. Sometimes the Torah of Chassidut explains in the level, in the way of the Yechidah that it was in the Torah, the unity of the Torah, the uniqueness of the Torah, the highest level of the soul within the Torah. Sometimes, however, it goes even deeper than that. It goes all the way to the essence that is above the unique part of the Torah, right? If the Yechidah always wants to connect to the Yechido, right? The Yechidah, the feminine aspect, always wants to connect to the Yechido, to God. The essence is that they're already connected. There's already nothing to disconnect. There's no need to want to connect because they're already one, right? The Klalud, in general, this is the difference also between the general Chassidut, which focuses on belief that is above reason, there is none but God, nullification of the reality of the mind and the world. Which is in the level of the Yechidah. The Yechidah feels there is no world, there's just God. Right? Compared to the Torah Chassidut Chabad, which explains the idea of godliness in a different way. Even our mind, our physical human mind, can understand and identify with them. Everyone who is created, we don't exist except because of the reality of the one who created us. God's existence and reality makes us real. It's not that there is none but him, so none of us are real and nothing is real. No, because he is real, we are real. We're part of him. My hand is real because my hand is part of me, right? This is the way we can think of it in the level of the essence that is above the Yechidah. Torah Chassidut Chabad, Guf Hamidor Adom Galim Okim Chashim, and as we said, in the Torah of Chassidut Chabad itself, for generation to generation are revealed new depths. The Kalut of Shalat Tzien Bof Miuchad Admor Rashab Sheyado Atay Galut Miuchad Shel Etzem Piyut Torah, and we can mention the Rebbe Rashab that by him was a special revelation of the essence of the inner part of the Torah. And more so, the leader of our generation, in our generation, the Rebbe. But all of them come from the power and the strength and the beginning of the Alter Rebbe. To explain the foundations that were placed by the Alter Rebbe.
what's the idea is there's a philosophy. This world doesn't exist. It's like a dream. So the question is how the Torah looks. If the fact is, if we'll move this way, then will be a question if you could make a blessing or it will be a waste. Not allowed to say wait, blessing. So the fact is, what God give us strength is this real. But what Allah said just now, it's even more. Because when we feel with God, then we feel this whole world is part of God. So it's real.
Wow. So we're about to start chapter 22, which is going to be the completion of Chelik Aleph of this book. This is the final chapter. As those who may have been here months and months ago when we began may recall, this book is divided into multiple parts. The first part is called Inyaney Mashiach, the idea of Mashiach.
Mhm.
The second part is the revelation of Mashiach.
So we finish first.
We're not. We're one chapter away. It might take us a couple of weeks because this chapter is a doozy.
We finish the first part.
We're about to finish the first part,
Next
which is
week-
the idea of Mashiach.
on the next week, along for 2 weeks, we'll have a vacation.
I am hoping that we will learn the rest. I really hope that we'll
but-
learn about the revelation of Mashiach with Mashiach himself, so that I don't have to teach it and I can hear from Mashiach himself. But if unfortunately that doesn't happen, I will hopefully after Pesach we will continue. The rabbi is of course correct that during Pesach I will not be teaching this class, as I will not be in San Francisco, and as far as I recall, I am not allowed to use Zoom on Pesach. Also, I'll be pretty busy doing a Seder.
Okay.
So,
Who's that you're not able to use?
but the next chapter is a really
Yes,
fun one.
on Kol Hamoed.
On Chol Hamoed,
Oh, it falls on
it falls on different days, and I don't want to commit on taking on this on Chol Hamoed when I'm with my family in Crown Heights.
Yeah, you
Oh,
were.
you're
So,
in Crown Heights?
I'm going to be in Crown Heights this year for Pesach. Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
Okay, good. Yeah, sure.
We're going to learn about Moshe v'Torato Emet. We're going to the next chapter is going to be the connection between the Rambam and Chassidus.
Wow, wonderful.
Focusing
Okay.
there.
I think it's a good idea to start recording them on YouTube. It's going to be saved, that more people can